With me is Shehata from BBC Arabic. Saeed, good to see you. First of all, let's just talk about the latest of these bodies to be returned, possibly taking it up to 12 of the dead bodies. What more do we know, and how long does it take for them to be identified typically?
It's a very complicated process, and Hamas, I think, mentioned earlier before the ceasefire agreement implemented on the ground that there is difficulties, logistical difficulty to locate and to find like the deceased hostages because of the rubbles, destructions. They need heavy specialized equipments and maybe international support to help them to find. So there was warning from Hamas before, but Israel not accepting that and saying Hamas is not doing enough, and in this case we are not going to honor our list of commitment, especially more aid to Gaza and crossing the Rafah crossing to be reopened again, supposed to be reopened last Tuesday. So it's delayed because some sick and injured people need to go, and some goods go there from Rafah. So it's very complicated, and Hamas they did their part by saying that Israel is not accepting that. So there is both sides, trade accusation against each other, and even the United States at the beginning, a few days ago, they said what Hamas doing is not violating the ceasefire agreement. So was on the side of Hamas. They appreciate the difficulties, but now there is pressure on Hamas, and they saying they need to put pressure on them in order to release, and also there is pressure from the hostages' families on the Israeli government not to do anything regarding the ceasefire agreement, not letting any aid unless the all remaining. So if the 12 is the two confirmed are Israeli, so 16 left. Until the 16 are going back, no other commitment should be honored by Israel.
You talk about the pressure on Hamas, Saeed. This US State Department warning potentially of an imminent Hamas attack and breaking of the ceasefire. Do you interpret that to be added pressure on Hamas, turning the screw on Hamas? Or do we get the sense that there is actually kind of a credible intelligence about an imminent threat?
What happens the last few days can support the argument that it's more pressure on Hamas than credible evidence of attacks, because Hamas executed people publicly, and at that time, Mr. Trump said he was not disturbed by what Hamas killing his people, because he gives them the green light to control and fill the vacuum, because after Israeli forces withdraw from about 47% of the Gaza to the yellow line, so there should be expected to be looting, instability, so it should be a force to be there, because it's still the international stabilization force in the process of it being established. So in this case, what Hamas done so far, it's showing the strength of Hamas.
Yeah.
And this upsetting and annoying Israel.
And as we speak, Saeed, we're seeing images there just of the huge destruction, of course, in Gaza, but also of these aid trucks coming through. I mean, so much still left to do, even though we are only sort of in phase 1 of the agreement. Phase 2 would foresee, as you say, this international stabilization force and the disarmament of Hamas. And yet there are real doubts over whether either of those could really be achieved.
It's very complex, because Hamas said before they will not disarm unless a Palestinian state is established. And this point was only mentioned in the Mr. Trump peace plan of 20 points, where it said after Gaza redeveloped and after the Palestinian Authority going through a reform program, then it can be talk about self-determination and the statehood. And this will take years, because who is going to judge the reform of the Palestinian Authority? How long will it take to reconstruct Gaza? And it also needs the Israeli to withdraw from the whole Gaza city, but the Israeli condition to be the Israeli force in buffer zone around Gaza. So, and in addition to that, Hamas refusing any what's called foreign guardianship. So about the government headed by the Board of Peace, headed by Mr. Trump. So there is Palestinian technocrat will be ruling Gaza, but under the supervision of the Board of Peace, and Hamas is against that. In addition to that, disarming Hamas, what is showing now by killing what they accused of, like militia linked to Israel, it's showing the strength of Hamas. Their fighters are there. Most of them were underground in the tunnels. So in this case, it's very complex. So Hamas will not surrender. So if they surrender and they handed over the hostages, this is one of the main cards in their hands. Now, the arms and their presence in Gaza is the other strong card with them. So to surrender without having any say in the future of Gaza, I think is unimaginable Hamas will surrender all of that. So you need to involve Hamas in a way or another, but is refused by Mr. Trump, is refused by Israel. So there is no way out. So Hamas will not easily surrender and will hand over its arms without any price. It should be a price. Yeah. And what we said before, like the IRA example in Northern Ireland, something to disarm. You need to make them to be not identical like IRA, but something similar for Hamas to be part of the future, but is refused, unfortunately, refused by United States, refused by the Trump plan, refused by Israel. So it will be complex in the way ahead.
Shehata from BBC Arabic, thanks as ever.